Hi everyone, this is May and I'm doing a Grasshopper Rhino tutorial for Arch 401 Shelby Studio. So today I'm going to be talking about section tools, and specifically I found this kind of plugin download from Food for Rhino, and it's called SectionTools, which is pretty intuitive. And I thought this would be really helpful because I personally really like how Revit uses different section tools and how you can get them and they kind of like update automatically, and that's really nice. But I found that Rhino, like the Make 2D and the clipping plane, was like a little bit more of a challenge. So I found this plugin here, or this download here, that works right into Rhino. And it's really nice because it creates these sections that you can keep along your different surfaces or objects that you're modeling, and then it will update and you can kind of just export them right out of the way, and it's a really nice tool to use. So I downloaded the section tools, like Windows 6 right here. It's a really small download. It took like less than a minute, not too big of a deal, and I'll include this link below, so that is available. So moving on, I already kind of like set up a sample file here to show how the section tools works, because I figured that just is kind of one of the best ways is just to like see how someone uses it. So here I actually used it in like an old 302 project. It was kind of like this constructed building in New York that I worked on with a partner last semester. So here I chose this model right here because it has this like kind of large building and then like an intervention going on here. So as you can see, there's several different sections going on here. And the nice thing about how this works is that I can turn the sections on and off depending on what I want to do. So I created 3 different sections, and you can make them horizontal, vertical, or custom, which is kind of at any angle. So that's nice. And then another nice thing that I found is that once you make the sections, you can kind of view them, and then we can go to like section 2 layout, and you can see here is the section right here with the lines. And then like the section 1, which is cut vertically here, is right here, showing how that's entirely cut through. And then section 00, which is horizontally, is right here. Oh, it looks like the hatch is a little weird here. But here is the cut along here. And just bear with this model, it's not like the best thing ever, but it's just here to kind of demonstrate how this works. And then another really cool thing that I found is that if you do 2 sections, like I did this one here and this one here, you can decide to view them, and then you can show like what pane you want to look at it in, and then you can see the 2 sections intersecting each other at the same time, which is really nice because then you can start to understand like how the building intersects with one another and then like where it's clipping. And I just think that's kind of a cool tool. So it's kind of just right on that section line here and here, which is like right there and there. So that's nice. And then another cool thing is that when the sections are made, they start to have different layers here. So I'll pull this out a little bit. And there we go. It's nice because they have a hatch and a solid. So then exporting can be really simple. And I just exported them, I think they can be DWGs or whatever, if you just kind of like export selected, and that works. You can also export them straight from the Section Tools panel. So how does this work? Let's get into it. So basically, you kind of open up whatever you're working on, and you should find that there's Section Tools up here in the top bar, and then there's several different things to work with. So the first thing that you should understand is that this tool is nice, but it also has its own limitations, like every other tool that we have for 3D modeling. So like, this is just one way to get a section. There's many others. This isn't like, I'm not saying this is the only way or the best way to do it. I'm just saying here's one option that could be helpful. So anyways, so let's click create. So then it's gonna ask to like what objects. I just clicked enter since I just want it to be all the options. Then here are kind of like the main, this main panel here. Now the direction here is where you want, if you want to change the direction of the section, so it can either be horizontal, vertical, or custom. So I'll just do another horizontal section, and let's do that. Then I can place it wherever I want, and I guess I'll just do it below here. It's kind of a boring section, but that will work. And then make sure it's like, using your windows, make sure it's in the right spot, and then there we go. So notice when it's first created, like nothing really happens right away, like it just kind of shows up as a line, but, and then there's a new layer going on, which let's assign to that down there. I'm gonna move this again, and then section 3. So, and they come locked already, which is kind of nice too. So if I want to view this section, what I have to do is go up here and click view. Pretty simple. Then you just click whatever section you want to view, enter, and then you select the viewport. So this is when I can select the perspective, and then notice how it updates onto that section 3, and then voila. There it is. So then it's visible in like the model space. Let's say I want to do the same thing where I see like the layout on the side. That's when I go, so instead of clicking view, I just click 2D layout. So that is the easiest thing. Then I select the section again. There we go. And then I can just kind of place it wherever. Right now I've just been like stacking them. So. And there we go. So that is another thing here that works. Now, as you can tell, like this only gets exactly where it's cutting. Sometimes the clipping plane can be nice because you see like what's behind it. So it's kind of up to you, like if you want to layer on and like use these lines and then line it up with the perspective image, or using different methods. That's up to you, obviously. Okay, so let's say you want to move a section because it's in the wrong place or something. So I'm gonna go back. Let's not make that. Okay, let's say I want to move my section 3. So what I do is, I don't know why my mouse was being weird, but anyway. Make sure to click move sections. It's pretty intuitive. Then you're going to select the one that you want to move, and then this is the point where it's a little tricky, but basically just kind of select the point. Let's use this, and then you can move it up, and there we go. So that moved it. So that's another way to do it. If you try to like unlock this layer here and move it, it's just a curve, so it won't really read anything. You have to go through the SectionTools thing. And so look, just kind of going through here too, you can, obviously you can create a section. You can also create an array of sections. So you make a whole bunch of them with like specific spacing, which is really nice. And then another important thing would be like the view, which what I was talking about is how you look at the sections in different perspectives. So you could also view it like just in the front or in the right view, and you just like choose that option when it comes up. Another important thing would be clear sections from views. So that's how you get rid of the sections if you don't want them anymore. You can also just unhide them or hide them over here. And then they also have a make 2D option right here, which is kind of nice that it's just right there. The sections, section objects, list, sections hint, moving, those are all things that we kind of talked about. Updating is when, let's say that you choose to change something in the model here. Well, it's not going to update these pieces here, won't update automatically unless you go to update sections or update all sections. And also you have to make sure that originally you selected, whatever you selected is what's going to show up again in this layout. So that's also something to remember, and that's when it could be a little unreliable sometimes if you're like adding a bunch of things to it. I don't know how well it will update, but just something to try out. Then, another really cool thing is that you can generate a report, and so that is when it gives information based on the layouts of surface area of what's actually being cutting through with the layout with the section. And so that's a really nice tool to understand like how much is filling it and how much of like that hatch that we see, which is nice. And then delete sections, that's pretty intuitive. Export layout, that's like when you do layout, the layout command in Rhino just kind of like has that there, and then leave that. So this is just one pretty simple way to test out different things, and I think this could be really useful for making like kind of intersecting sections, getting different perspectives, and showing like maybe even how like pieces fit together and getting like smaller sectional views. This could be really helpful. So yes, I will put the information to download this below, but just remember it's SectionTools and not too hard or complicated of a name. So there we go. So along with the SectionTools like Rhino plugin that I was showing you, there's also another way to get pretty simple elevations and sections using a program called VisualARQ. Now from Food for Rhino, I found this Grasshopper definition that goes right into VisualARQ, which is, this is a program that kind of does like BIM modeling almost in like 2D and 3D it says, and this can be downloaded just in like plugged in to Rhino, and then the Grasshopper script goes into this to create different sections and elevations. So I included this part because it's just another way to get sections, which can be really helpful. However, there's only a 30-day like free trial, so that's a little bit restricting on that end. But as students, we all have multiple emails and we can register for multiple things. So technically, we could use this for the rest of the semester one way or the other. And I think it is actually really really flexible and helpful tool. So I started by downloading VisualARQ, which was the Rhino plugin here, and I did the Rhino 6 version. So I downloaded that first, and then that kind of popped up in my Rhino. And then I also downloaded a Grasshopper script that worked with Rhino geometry and VisualARQ objects to create different views like almost instantly. Like here's kind of a view of what can happen. So very helpful. So I'm just going to go right in, and first I'm going to show you the different tools that can just work right within VisualARQ. So without implementing Grasshopper, there are tools that can just create sections really easily, and there's no like script needed. But then there's another way that's also really helpful. So VisualARQ, like there's a toolbar that will pop up once you download it. It also occurs up here. And there's certain things like walls, curtain walls, beams, columns, all these things, stairs, furniture even. And so it kind of starts to read almost like Revit in Rhino. It's kind of interesting. So what I'm really interested here is sections. Obviously there's a lot to go on here, so play around with it what you like, but I'm just going to focus on sections for this tutorial. So it's under documentation, and there are little tools up here, and so the important tool here is section, and then default, click OK, and then this is when you can start cutting your line. So I'm just going to make another one to show how it works, and then these ones I already drew in here are also visible in like S1, S2, S3, and we'll just do another one just for fun. So you just start here, drag the line across, click enter, enter, and then I'll call it S4. And there we go. So once we have our section kind of popped up, then we want to make sure that we are viewing this. And to get this little tool up here, you just click on Edit Sections on the toolbar up here. So you select whatever section that you want, and you can either kind of do this perspective mode here, you can do an elevation or a 2D section. So actually I'm going to go back to this here, and let's go in perspective here, S4, and boom, there we go. We have this section that is visible from the get-go. Oops. And it shows that section, which I would say is pretty handy. And then another really helpful thing is, let's say we want to view S1 instead of S4. So what we can do, make sure you're in the right mode. S1, check that, there we go. So then we're seeing it in this way. My laptop is starting to heat up a lot now, so I apologize if the audio is a little different. Hopefully it's not too bad. But, okay, so once we have this selected after we make the section, then you can view it in this way. Oh, whoa, what happened there? Okay, here. This is an elevation, and then also in an actual section. And so this makes it pretty simple to start exporting and working with. And I do like how it takes a section and then it also shows the information behind it, where else the SectionTools just literally takes like that exact moment in time. But yes, so I also wanted to show another interesting tool here, which I believe is S3. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so when you're making the sections, you can edit this curve here, and that actually shows where the section line is being cut. So in this case, I actually cut it and then had a little jag to show, oh, maybe I want to show more of this. And so that gets really helpful because you can start to see, okay. I think my thing is getting really slow. Let's load there. Okay, but now we can see that there's kind of this jag. So this could be really useful when we're working with maybe some of the facade elements or axon views of showing how different things work within the space and the outside as well. So I just thought this would be helpful to show. All right, so now that this is one option here, I am also going to show the Grasshopper plugin that works with it as well. So let's go back into this. We have these. I'm just going to exit out of these sections for now for the demonstration. And those are gone. Okay, then we're going to launch Grasshopper. And I already have this file set up, but it's just a section and 4 elevations views, which is what I downloaded from this Food for Rhino 4 elevations and 2 sections thing. So now that that is in here, we want to, first of all, the main goal here is to understand that this is kind of the entry point here with a bounding box. And then there are different sections, which let me make sure this is actually in top view. That would be helpful. There we go. So there will be sections that will cut through the bounding box, which is really helpful. And so we want to make sure here that sections are selected. They are. And then at the very end here, there are two different things, and this kind of connects to a section up here, section view, section view, section view. So then when baking both of these, it creates instant section views. So I'm just going to do both of these, click bake. Let's see if it will work. Still loading. And there we go. We have elevations, we have a section going on, and more elevations. So that was pretty fast and pretty useful to get all of those angles right away. Look at how nicely that came out. So then I can just export those to DWGs and boom, it is over. So let me know if you have questions about this, comments, anything like that, and thanks for listening.